Welcome to Swiftlore Podcast, where we dive into the lyrics and lore of our Lord and Savior, Dr. Taylor Allison Swift.
Absolutely, that's why we're here.
I'm Kat.
I'm Abby.
And we're out here.
Oh, man.
We sure fucking
Boy,
are.
howdy are we.
Boy, howdy are. The nose rolled at me.
The nose rolled in your general direction.
I didn't choose the clown life. The clown life chose me.
Abby and Kat were born in 1997 and became best friends when they were 6. Grew up together and started a band and bonded over music ever since. 20 years later, they are all grown up and spend their free time analyzing lyrics. Now here they are talking all about their Lord and Savior, Dr. Taylor Allison Swift. Taylor, if you're listening, we love you.
It's brutal out here. We don't know what the vibes are going to be like this week. I feel like we say that several weeks, so at this point, maybe that's what you guys like about this podcast.
But we really don't know what the vibes are going to be this week.
No, we're both kind of going through it, and that's okay. We're here.
We're out here.
We're survivors.
So, speaking of going through it, my uncle passed away really unexpectedly, and I thought I could do this without crying.
It's okay.
Hi folks, Editing Abby here. I apologize for the rough audio. I'm recording this on my phone because I'm too lazy to get my fancy microphone. Obviously, things are a bit emotionally heightened right now, and in editing the episode, I realized that the way that we explained this fundraiser isn't the clearest, so I'm going to do a quick rundown right here, and then know that in the show notes, we're going to have everything written out, and also on our Instagram, we'll have all the links there as well. So basically, we are doing a raffle-style fundraiser to support the cat sanctuary that's taking in Uncle Tim's cats. It's this small place in Hornell, New York, called Cozy Cats and Kittens Rescue, and I say because it's just the letter N, it's not the word and. They are this wonderful organization that tries to help with the cat overpopulation issue in the area. And it's a nonprofit, amazing place that provides a safe space for cats who need a home. So basically what we are raising money for is that organization, but we're also doing a raffle. The prize for the raffle is going to be a Valentine's Day package from us. It'll have Valentines that feature pictures of Shakespeare the dog and Amelia my cat. There's also going to be some stickers, a handwritten note, and a short personalized video from us, kind of like a cameo. You can enter the raffle by either making a post with your own pets, put down the fundraiser name, put down our name, tag us, and then that'll count as an entry, and that's a free option. You can also donate, and then basically every dollar that you donate will equal one entry, and every post will equal one entry. After that, we'll pick 2 names from all the pool in the beginning of February, and 2 people will win the package that I mentioned earlier. If you donate above $25, then you'll just receive that package automatically. So there you go. They also have a Chewy and an Amazon wish list as well. Again, all these links are going to be in the show notes, so you can go ahead. There's a lot of different ways to donate to this organization. We are so thankful for this organization. We are so thankful for anyone who does decide to donate. If you have the ability to donate, if you don't have the ability to donate, that's okay as well. Just do your best to signal boost so we can get the word out as much as possible. Thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you so much for supporting Kat during this time, and supporting Cozy Cats and Kittens. And we love you. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah, I think we'll stop on February 7th, which is a week before Valentine's, and then we'll announce the winner on the winners in the February 10th episode.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll send things out like that day so we can try to get it stuff to people by Valentine's, which if you're in the US, you'll probably get it by Valentine's. If you're not, you might not, but cheesy Valentines are forever.
It's true. So just make sure that you're putting those screenshots to us so that we can keep track of everything.
Yeah, there will be a Google form where you'll just put your name, your email, so I can contact you about stuff, your mailing address in case you get chosen, and upload your screenshot of whatever it is.
Yeah. So good stuff. So that was what we wanted to start it off with, was that little fundraiser moment. And then today
we're finishing up our title track series for now.
So I'm covering Evermore.
And I'm covering the Tortured Poets department.
Woo, woo, woo. So, yeah.
And the light that we use to light us from the front while we film, it's like a daylight light that my mom gave me. It used to be in her office, but she was like, hey, you have seasonal depression. Here you go. And so when I bring it out to pointed at us. Spear is currently out of the crate.
For the second week in a row.
We're trying it again.
Yeah.
She got pretty far last week.
She did.
So we're trying it again. But I like put the light on her. I was like, are you Patty Thomas? No, that's not right.
Are you Patty Thomas? Are you Dylan Smith? It's okay. You guys get
she could be. Those are just people.
Someone out there is named Patty Thomas.
If you're Patty Thomas, you get the package.
If your name is Patty Thomas, reach out to us. We'll send you a cameo. Or Dylan Smith. Sorry, I don't want to.
I need to brush my teeth. I need to blow my nose really quick.
You need to brush your teeth and blow your nose. Evermore. Evermore is the 15th song and the closing track on Evermore, at least like the standard edition. Sorry, I just accidentally talked with my hands and hit the microphone. But it was written by Taylor, William Bowery, who was, Joe Alwyn, who was featured on the piano, and then Justin Vernon, who is Bon Iver, who sings in the song. It was also produced by Aaron Dessner, which you can tell. You can always tell.
This is a Swiftner.
Absolutely. Fun fact for any music nerds out there, this song, Closure, and Tolerate It are all in either 10/8 or 5/4 time.
Huh.
So we got a fun little time signature moment. There's a really long quote about Taylor talking about this song. I took a little bit of it. So this song goes through walking through the forest barefoot in the middle of winter, or standing on the balcony and letting the icy wind just hit you and you're catching your death. Then in the last chorus, the person goes inside and is finally warm and safe. It's about the process of finding hope again, but it's also reflected back to an experience I had that was pretty life-altering when I went through a lot of bad stuff in 2016, like July, November. All those times were just taking it day by day to get through, trying to find some glimmer of hope through all of that. To live for the hope of it all.
To live for the hope of it all.
Yeah.
It also is kind of giving Tchaikovsky in the
You
sense
and
that...
Tchaikovsky.
Listen, I know one fun fact. It comes up a lot. Tchaikovsky tried to commit suicide by standing in a river in the Russian winter and hoping that he would catch his death, and then he didn't. He was just fine.
Yeah. I think you've told that before, and I
think I have, but you know what? I think we got to bring it back.
All right. This time I'll leave it in.
He was one dramatic bitch. Love that man.
So anyway, this song seems to revolve around potentially her relationship, potentially the whole Kimye thing. But also it's just about being so sad from a general standpoint. Yeah. So personal connections, like I don't listen to this song much, I think because it's really slow and really sad. And honestly, I prefer Exile a little bit more if we're talking about Bon Iver collabs. That's a conversation for a different time.
I listened to the song the most on November 1st.
That makes sense.
I'm like, Gray November, I've been down since July, just like me for real.
That line is so real. But I think like this song is so relatable for me at times that
that you can't listen to it because it's too relatable.
To it. Yeah. So there's that, but it's a beautiful song with beautiful lyrics. It was performed as a surprise song on the Eras Tour June 30th, 2023 in Cincinnati, Ohio. And then also on March 3rd, 2024 in Singapore as a mashup with Clean.
Oh,
I know. And then November 15th, 2024 in Toronto, mashed up with Peter. That one would have
That's a
ended me.
hate crime.
That one would have ended me.
That one would have, I would have been on the floor. And they'd be like, that's so gross. I'd be like, I'm on the floor.
I'm on the floor and I will never stand.
I'll be here forevermore.
I will never stand tall again, as she says in the song. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of front matter about it. I didn't look on Reddit. I mean, they have a bunch of stuff on Reddit and I was like, I don't have the spoons. I don't have the spoons.
No spoons.
Do you know about the spoons thing?
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes I say it and people are like, what does that mean? For those who don't know what that means, it's a way to phrase like having the capacity or the ability to give energy to something, whether that be physically, mentally. I just don't have a lot of spoons right now. So there you have it. We're going to talk about some lyrics. So that lyric that Kat brought up, Gray November, I've been down since July. I love how we're setting the scene. Typically, November being gray is pretty typical. Mm-hmm. So we're already opening in this like seasonally depressed kind of place. But then she's immediately saying like, no, I've been depressed since July, which is like supposed to be a happy time of year.
Yeah.
So that's how many months? Like 5 months.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's giving new moon.
It kind of makes me think of like, okay, I've been down since July and finally like the universe is like back, is on my wavelength of like, I've been depressed since it was 80 degrees and sunny and now it's 40 degrees and raining in gray, perfect.
Yeah.
This is what I've been waiting for.
True. But it makes me think about like Cruel Summer and Lover, of how like summer is supposed to be this fun time, August, you know,
Yeah.
and then now things just keep getting bad.
Yeah.
Things just stay bad.
It's like if you couldn't turn it around in July or August, like you're not going to turn it around in November.
Right. Motion capture put me in a bad light. This to me is about the Camille scandal. I could be wrong, but that's just how I interpret it. So motion capture, I looked it up a little bit. In the entertainment industry, that's usually what they use to like manipulate an image. So if they're trying to turn a person into like for special effects,
Oh, yeah.
they'll do motion capture for that. I just happened to watch The Fall Guy literally yesterday, and a whole plot point is it's about stunt doubles, and the whole plot point is that like Ryan Gosling did motion capture so that they could just put his face on other people's face, you know? So like I think about the fact that Taylor's whole image was ruined because of a manipulated recording of a phone call conversation. And so now she's saying motion capture put me in a bad light. Like they took something that I did, manipulated it, and now I have this reputation. That doesn't have to be what it's about, but that's what I thought of.
Yeah.
I replay my footsteps on each stepping stone, trying to find the one where I went wrong. I feel like Taylor tries very hard to do the right thing. Like, regardless of what you think about her, I believe that she has really good intentions with what she does, and she's doing her best to be a good person and to do the right thing. And so I can just see her trying to look back and be like, how did I get here? Why do so many people hate me? Why am I so down? Because like every step of the way, I made the decision that I felt was best, and yet somehow I'm here.
Yeah.
Which is very relatable. I feel like so often I'm just like, how did I, like, if I'd only just, like, what if
Exactly. I mean, what is it, like hindsight's 2020, that whole thing of like, but sometimes you can't figure out what you did wrong because you did everything right and it still didn't go the way that you wanted it to.
Right, exactly. Writing letters addressed to the fire. So. Damn. So there's, I could probably talk for an entire episode about this line alone, because I had a very specific interpretation of it, of like writing letters addressed to the fire, as in writing to these people, getting the words out and then just burning them is like a therapeutic technique, which is something that like we've talked about before. But then Genius didn't mention that interpretation at all. Genius was talking about how this could be a reference to Jane Eyre, because apparently in that book, I don't remember this part, but she writes letters to a home that turns out to have burned down. It could also mean that she's like trying to fight back with this uncontrollable force that's against her. So she's like writing letters. She's putting out music to try to fight this reputation, but it's like they're addressed to the fire. The fire just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah. Her trying to fix things is just feeding the flame.
Yeah. Like I wrote, screaming at a fire doesn't put it out, you know?
That's true.
Like
it only makes it bigger.
Exactly.
You're giving it more oxygen.
Exactly. And I talk about Ivy a little bit later, but like it's a blaze in the dark and you started it. So she's writing letters addressed to the fire. Like she talks about fire a lot.
Yeah.
I love that line so much. We get into the chorus, and I was catching my breath, staring out an open window, catching my death. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but just this idea of like catching your, like just trying to get grounded again after a traumatic experience and like breathing in the cool air, despite the fact that there's a risk involved. Like you could get sick by doing that.
And I think also it's like, it's so hard for her to like have that reset and ground herself that she's just at the window. Cause like if you just open the window for a second to breathe and cool off and then close it, you'll be fine. But like if you're still freaking out and you try to open it and you're still like, you have to just stand there for so long trying to catch your breath that like it becomes a risk because it's not the salute. Like you're trying to, you know, Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes.
Yeah. This to me just feels kind of like a panic attack. Like she's catching her breath, catching her death, like just in the cold air. Like that's what it feels like to me. And I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling so peculiar that this pain would be forevermore. I say this a lot. John Green, I love your work. Pain demands to be felt. When you're feeling emotional turmoil, when you're feeling any emotion, you feel like you're going to feel that way forever, and your emotions want to feel that way forever. I also noted that she uses Forevermore in 2 other songs, Welcome to New York and New Year's Day. And yep. So Welcome to New York, she uses it as a fresh start where she's going to dance to this beat forevermore. And on New Year's Day, she's saying, You and Me Forevermore. So
and here it's Oh, no.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't like that.
Uh-huh. And it's also like, this is the title of the album.
Yeah.
So this concept of forever, which, you know, she always thought was this, that forever is the longest con, right? Like,
Yeah.
ow.
Ow.
She did that personally and purposefully. Second verse. Hey, December. So more time has passed. And I just love this like casuality of like, hey, what's up? Especially because we know she's a Christmas girly.
It's very Bella Swan months passing, like you said.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But she usually loves Christmas.
Yeah.
She loves December. Now she's like, hey, like she's still in this same rut. Can't remember what I used to fight for. Ow. Like she's so aimless. She's so lost. And also you think about like exile. You're not my homeland anymore. So who am I defending now? Just this like, she doesn't know what she's fighting for, what she's there for. She doesn't feel the Christmas spirit.
Our country guessed it was a lawless land.
Ooh, true. So she says, I rewind the tape, but all it does is pause. So she's going over memories like the stepping stone she mentioned in the first verse. All it does is pause. It makes me think of Right Where You Left Me, unfortunately.
Unfortunate.
But also put a pin in the word pause because that comes back later. On the very moment, all was lost. So again, like right where you left me, right when the moment stopped. Sending signals to be double-crossed. The other time she says double-cross is in the all too well 10-minute version with you double-crossed my mind. Ooh. Yeah. So she's looking back on this traumatic memory or period and just like trying to make sense of it. Talking about signals. She also talks about signals in Exile with I Gave So Many Signs. And then in Willa with Wait for the Signal and I'll Meet You After Dark.
I'm stuck on the double cross of it all.
Okay.
Like in relation to the fact that she's like having this retrospect because the only other time she's used it was in a at that time unreleased song.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of like an internalized symbol that she was doing of like these things, like she's double crossing her own memories by like looking back at them through different lenses and like seeing things differently, and it feels like a betrayal of like your past self.
Right.
But then since she's trying to figure out where things went wrong, and she's like, well, obviously it went wrong before 2016, so then I have to look back. But like, how far back do I go? Like, do I go back to when he double crossed my mind, or is it like even before that?
Yeah.
And it's like it's a rabbit hole. I mean, the butterfly effect, go stupid, go crazy. So like, you go far enough into the past and you can figure out how to rework everything, but you can't do it.
Fell from the pedestal right down the rabbit hole.
That has a interesting relation to my song too.
Whoa. We get into the chorus again. It's the same, except for now she's saying barefoot in the wildest winter instead of staring out an open window. God, I'm so unserious for this. Sorry. You tell your very serious note first because mine's unserious.
Oh no, I was going to say Tchaikovsky again. Mine was not
okay.
serious.
Because I was going to say Stranger Things 4. There's a character who runs around in the snow barefoot for so long, and then he's just fine? And this is after he breaks his ankle? He's just fine? Are you kidding me?
Listen,
Sorry.
we don't have time for all these plot holes.
I'm sorry. If you know, you know. All right.
Walk it off.
He literally said walk it off.
Same brain.
Okay. So anyway, now... You can tell I wrote these in the current mental state that I'm in. So then Justin Vernon comes in and I just wrote, hey, Bon, can I call you Bon? I guess it's Bone, right?
Bone.
It feels weird to call him Bone.
Bone?
Mr. Rivere.
Just a little hint that there is a bone pun on one of the Valentines for the fun.
Oh, there is a bone pun. Oh man.
Should I just say it? I feel like that's really...
Yeah.
It's going to be a picture of Spear, and it's going to be like, I thought you said want a bone. Like want space A space bone with a picture of Spear with a bone.
So then we get into the super serious, super sad bridge. I'm glad we got our giggles out.
I'll drink my iced coffee.
Okay. Can't not think of all the cost. So the double negative here reminds me again of that double cross moment. Like she can't not think about it implies that she's trying not to.
You've said some things that I can't unabsorb.
Yeah, like she can't not. And all the things that will be lost. Oh, why did I do that? I wrote, stop, you're losing me.
That wasn't a cough. That was a scoff. I feel like I should clarify, but like it was a scoff from the soul.
Yeah.
It's a soul scoff.
A scoff? Nope. Anyway.
I don't know if those words can be combined. I know that's a weird thing for me to say.
About the combining words thing, though, that reminds me of the sitcom that one day maybe will come out, hopefully, if anyone wants to produce it.
We might start doing skits of it.
I think it would be really fun for us to do skits as like the little bits from the sitcom. But there's the one where you combine two words together, and it's the word plot, actually. You say
Platonic slut.
Platonic slut, yeah.
Yes.
And I go, sometimes words don't need to be combined. And you say, I've never found that to be true. And I think about that all the time.
Well, now I may have found it to be true.
Yeah. So anyway, I keep saying like you and me when we talk about Biz and Rose because they're very caricaturized.
Yeah, they're caricaturized versions of us.
Yeah. So when we write it, I mean, because like Biz and Rose are
also they're based off, like those names are based off our middle names.
Yeah. So it's a whole thing. Anyway.
We'll explain the lore in another time. Maybe that'll be a Patreon live stream. It's just us doing one of the episodes.
Reading of one of the episodes. I think that would be really fun.
That would actually be so fun.
Okay, anyone who's on the Patreon or anyone who's not, would you be interested in that? Let us know.
This month, also we forgot to talk about this. We'll probably talk about it at the end. This month for the Patreon live stream, we're going to be watching Twilight, which if it's anything like when we watched High School Musical 2 last night.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, we'll talk about that later because I know we're in the middle of your thing, but we're watching Twilight this month and it's going to be really entertaining.
All right. This bridge. You can see that I don't want to feel my feels right now.
Yeah, we're just like, I don't want to process things, so
I don't want to do that. All right. Oh, can we just get a pause to be certain we'll be tall again? What were you smiling about?
I'm pain. I'm in danger.
I was like, can we just get a pause, like spiritual pausey?
Oh,
so cute.
She does have a very cute pause.
It's interesting because earlier in the song she's like, I'm rewinding the tape and it keeps pausing, and now she's like, can we pause now? Because to me, like, it resumed and is closing out and she sees this thing slipping away from her. I think she's talking about a relationship in this bridge. And it's like, can we just pause? Like, actually, I know I was complaining about the pause earlier, but I think I'd rather have that than what I'm currently doing.
You know what I'm going to bring this back to? My favorite quote to quote and not look up every single time I talk about it. This whole song is talking about the beginning of their relationship while they're at the end of it.
Ooh, yeah.
So this actually probably relates to that quote the most, which if you haven't listened to any of the other episodes where I've mentioned it, there's a quote from, I believe it's from The Interpreter of Maladies. It's a bunch of short stories, and one of them has a quote that's like, if you're in a relationship and the only thing that you're thinking about is the beginning, then you're at the end because you're no longer thinking about the future. You're just thinking about the past and the beginning and the honeymoon phase.
Right.
So it's like, this is that, but like a take on that of like the beginning really sucked, but she's still going back to it over and over again to see if there's something she could have done to make it so that this wouldn't end.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The idea of like, we'll be tall again makes me think always about happiness. I think about happiness all the time. Like when I'm above the trees, I see this for what it is, but now I'm right down in it. Like one day we'll be tall again, but I'm not tall right now. She's not rising above it like she does in her fantasies, and I hate it here. Like she's just in it and it sucks. Whether weather be the frost or the violence of the dog days.
Oh, damn.
Wow. Is this still her singing this, or is this Bon at this point?
I think it's him singing, but all I can hear is her singing it live at the Eras tour.
Yeah.
Whether weather be the frost.
I don't know. I listened to the bridge specifically so that I could note who sings what part, and I forgot immediately. Oh, he's singing this whole thing.
Yeah, she doesn't come until the end of When I Was Shipwrecked.
Okay, that's
interesting.
Right, and you know what? I think I did write that down, and then I just
I get it.
Forgot.
Brain machine broke.
Brain machine broke, no spoons. So whether weather be the frost or the violence of the dog days. This is another sort of parallel to July versus December. It doesn't matter if it's cold with the frost or hot. Like the dog days are typically like the hottest days of the summer, the sort of miserable hot days. And she also describes the dog days as violence, which is interesting. And it makes me think of an ivy. It's a war in the censored version, in the non-explicit version. She says it's a violent blaze in the dark.
Oh,
yeah. So the idea of these flames being violent and her writing letters to this violent fire, sad. Then I'm on waves out being tossed. So maybe I'm thinking of this because I just talked about it last week, but this love is all about like the ocean and water. And she talks about the ocean and water a lot in Willow with the I'm like the water when your ship
came in that night.
Yeah. Is there a line that I could just go cross? Is there an easy solution where I can just get through this, get past this one barrier and be on the other side of it? Or a place to go where she can just make this right again?
I also think of it as this is that weird stage at the end of a relationship where you know that things are probably going to end, but there's still kind of a chance that things could work out. But at the same time, it sucks being in that state of not knowing. So it's is there a line I can cross that is officially too far and you will leave me?
Yeah.
That self-destruction tendency that some people, not me, have of wrecking. Actually, it talks about it a lot in Torture Poet's Department of him, you're in self-sabotage mode.
Mm-hmm.
Purposely ruining something so that you can be oh, well, it just didn't work because he left. So therefore it's not my fault because he left me.
Right. I think what gets to me about this bridge is there is a hope, but I think her hope is stronger than his at this point. Because so basically that first part of the chorus is Bon Iver singing. And then the second part, Taylor joins in. I call it the dueling banjos of heartbreak.
Dueling pianos is right there.
You're right.
But banjos is better.
Well, usually banjos are dueling in my head. I don't know. So while he's singing this thing about just I can't stop thinking about how I'm losing this and there's the cost to it. And, can I just get past this line so it can be over and it's done and this sucks. And she's saying, when I was shipwrecked, I thought of you. In the cracks of light, I dreamed of you. She's talking about how despite all the stuff that's going on, you're still so important to me and I still love you so much. And at no point in his section does he really talk about that.
Yeah.
So that's what's super painful to me personally.
In my dreams, you're touching my face.
Yeah. So this idea of the cracks of light, it just reminds me of Daylight, which is a love song. And so I just feel like Taylor's part here is so based on the fact that she still loves him, and his response back is just this is done,
Yeah, this isn't working. You have to see that this isn't working.
Right. And that's so painful.
Yeah.
So then it keeps going and it's the music starts to swell and then recede, kind of like a wave in the ocean crashing.
Oh, I've never noticed that before. Damn.
Yeah. And it's really interesting if you look at it from that perspective musically, because it's everything's happening at once and then things layers start to peel back and then it's stripped down again.
And then it's low tide and you're alone on the shore.
Exactly. And she says, it was real enough to get me through, these dreams, these cracks of life, to live for the hope of it all. Ow.
Oh, I have another ouch.
Okay, what?
This relationship theoretically helped her through a really hard time of a lot of things were going on. The Gray November had been down since July.
Yeah.
And now it's ending. And when a relationship ends, even if you know that it was real, you still have those doubts of was it real? Was it actually if it's ending, then was it ever really love? Was it, if it does the fact that it ended negate the entire relationship? So that's part of the reason also she's looking back and she's well, it was, even if it wasn't real, it was real enough to get me through.
Yeah. I searched the evidence, try to make it make some sense.
Exactly.
That's so real of when you're going through something really hard and just thinking about it so much that none of it makes sense anymore.
Yeah. The overthinker's conundrum is just eventually it's all everything or it's all nothing.
Yeah. But I swear, you were there. It was where?
I was there.
So obviously we have the all too well parallel again. She's also talking in the past tense. I swear you were there. I swear. When earlier in the song, I'm on waves out being tossed. It's in the present tense. So there's definitely a separation here. Also, Genius pointed out in Out of the Woods, when the sun came up, you were looking at me like you were there. And it's just it's just an ouch.
It's just an ouch.
It's just an ouch. We get back to the chorus. Now we just I was catching my breath, floors of a cabin creaking under my step. So now she's inside, she's warm, she's presumably safe, grounding herself with these creaking floors beneath her feet. And she has some hope that she's going to get through this, because now she's saying this pain wouldn't be forevermore. So there's a hope, they sort of got through this whole release. And now she's just well, I guess this is happening. And that's the end of the album.
What an interesting, incredible place to end things.
Right.
Is just because the last line of the album is this pain wouldn't be forevermore.
Yeah.
What, and like, I really like how that doesn't negate the fact that she's felt this pain. She's not saying like none of this pain that I've ever felt, like it doesn't matter because I don't feel it anymore. It's like it matters and it hurt, but it's not. But like when I went through this terrible time before, I found happiness again. And when that happiness goes away, I will still find other happy. Like there was happiness because of you.
Yeah, there'll be happiness after you. It's so sad and like, but hopeful, but
it's that place of like, I know that I will find hope, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so real and so true, as Gracie Abrams once said.
That's so true.
In a very different context, but you know, I feel both. My discussion question is, do you have a least favorite month?
That's a good question. I'm like mentally going, I'm like January probably.
January is kind of
because it's just
horrible.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because our Januaries have
been shit. I'm trying to think, like, because I don't know, like I like all the Valentine's decorations in February, even when I'm single. March is my birthday, so obviously that's
right,
pop.
right.
April, it's like spring. May
makes me think of like school is ending. I know I won't have that for much longer, but school is ending.
Hey, yeah, this May you're graduating, so like slay.
June is my birthday.
Exactly. And then like July, August are like that's summer, that's fun.
That's true. Although I will say July is usually pretty tough for me, just in general. And like but there's some amazing songs with July in them.
Exactly.
So I get to process my feels.
Baby.
And yeah.
And like September is great, October is great, November is fun, December is fun. So yeah, I'm going to go with January.
I think you're right. I think it's January for me. Which she hasn't even gotten to in this song.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, maybe she's in the ending of the song is the January of it all.
Oh, maybe. Maybe the bridge is the January.
Yeah.
Dang.
And then the final chorus is February when everything will be better and fine. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. All right.
And on that note, the Tortured Poets Department. So this was written and produced by Swift and Off, which makes total sense.
Makes sense.
And that's what I thought, but I was like, I didn't actually write it down, so I don't know if that's true. I think you'll really like this. Wikipedia said this was a synth pop and jangle pop song.
Jangle pop.
You know what? If anything had the vibe of jangle pop, I don't know what jangle pop is.
That's what they called me in college. It's been a while since I made that joke.
And they called me a tortured poet. So really, it really fits.
Beautiful.
This song peaked at number 3 on the global Billboard charts. And our man, Jason Lipschitz, when he was ranking all 31 tracks of the anthology, he ranked this at number 11, which is interesting.
That's pretty high.
It's pretty high. He highlighted the light and unobtrusive drums that leave space for Swift's voice and described this South, I assume that was supposed to be sound, as a synth fantasia.
Synth fantasia.
Which I see and I love.
Yeah.
Jason Lipschitz, come on the pod.
Love you, Jason.
This song has been performed twice. Both times were as mashups. Once was May 25th, 2024 in Lisbon, Portugal, mashed up with Now That We Don't Talk on guitar, which love that.
Amazing.
And then December 7th, 2025, I didn't write down where. I think that was Vancouver. It was mashed up with Maroon on piano.
Of course it was.
Of course.
Wow.
Taylor Swift and Maroon.
I know that you're, maybe I'll wait until personal connections.
That's what's next, so you can go.
Okay. I know a lot of people really dislike this song.
Because it's very satirical. It's very camp.
It is very camp. I have no ill will against the song. I'm pretty sure it's low on my ranking just because this album is so incredible.
Yeah.
In general.
I do think it's really fun. I don't skip this song if I'm listening through to the album.
Right. There are some like toxic messages in there, and I know that that's the point.
Yeah.
I know that that's the point, but I'm just like, okay. I don't know if I want to like bop to this idea.
That's fair. I feel like, yeah, we'll get into it. I mean, my personal connection, I was like, look, I've been the archer, I've been the prey. What can I say? I've been a pretentious asshole. I've dated pretentious assholes. It just be like that. My overall interpretation is this is a song about how men are pretentious in a different way, worse than how women are pretentious. And that's why, like, if you're a tortured poet woman trying to date a tortured poet man, it just, and it also, like, not just man and woman, it's also, like, the genuine tortured poet versus the person whose like aesthetic is being a tortured poet. And I think the aestheticization, what like the boiling down of being a writer to the aesthetic of being a writer is a big thing. And I've been very into video essays lately, and I've watched a couple on how like Book Talk kind of takes like there's two sides of Book Talks. There's like the people who genuinely really love reading and really love books, and there's people who really love the aesthetic of reading and buying books and like looking like a reader and like the social capital of what it means to be a reader. And like I think this kind of relates heavily to that because of all of the like signals of like literary prowess that they put, like the Chelsea Hotel, which I'll get into, and like the name dropping the poets and like the typewriter. Like, God, it's just
it is
it's the commitment to the aesthetic. And it's like, if you're spending that much time trying to look like a tortured poet, what poetry are you writing?
Yeah, they're both playing a role and they're both suffering.
Yeah. You left your typewriter at my apartment. Who the fuck brings a typewriter to somebody else's house?
That's crazy. Like it's a toothbrush.
Literally, he's like, the commitment to the bit I'm always there for, except in this case where it's like, there's no fucking way that you genuinely are like, I have to write on a typewriter. And I think that a lot of times like writers will do these crazy routines because the writers of yore, the kind of pre-computers existing, you know, that's how you wrote, was on typewriters, or like you would handwrite manuscripts, and like that became part of like the aesthetic of being a writer. Like Hemingway was obsessed with like he had this whole writing routine. I've talked before, I don't like Hemingway. I think he's an asshole. But like he had like a stand-up desk in like the 20s. So obviously, you know, the 1920s pre-COVID. And like he'd stand at his desk for 6 hours a day, and he would be like, if I write one perfect sentence, then like that's a good writing day. And so like, who knows if that's true or not, but like that kind of idea of the like obsessive, like dedicated to their craft writer kind of came about from the romanticization of that time. And so I think that like a lot of pretentious asshole dudes, I can say this as somebody who went to a small liberal arts college and was an English major, like the way that people will commit to a really like a bit that is about the aesthetic and it hinders your writing, because like if you're like, I only write on my typewriter, and then you're somewhere without your typewriter and you're so committed to the bit, like you won't write it down on your phone. You won't, like, you'll wait until you're back at your typewriter. You might forget it. Like it's so obtrusive to like actual creation. But clearly I have a lot of thoughts about this fucking typewriter. It's just the idea of somebody who brings a typewriter everywhere with them. Cause like eventually you're going to forget it. And then how many backup fucking typewriters do you have?
But I think that, but also on this train of thought, cause we're getting really deep on this typewriter lore. Yeah. Like he left it at her apartment, meaning that now he's creatively he doesn't have anything to write with anymore because he left it at her place. Yeah. So, I mean, now we're going real deep. I don't think it's that deep. However, it is right now to me.
Yeah. But I also think like going with that is like he's leaving like this mask of who he is with her. Yeah. Because even when he's not there, he wants her to be reminded like, oh yeah, he's so like quirky and like he writes on a typewriter and he brings it with him, and then he leaves the places and he probably just buys a new typewriter. But like now I just have a fucking typewriter at my apartment.
He left the mask, he left the performance, he left the
stage lights. You kicked out the stage lights, but you're still performing.
Ooh, true.
Like the performance doesn't end.
But it's like all the songs or whatever that they wrote about each other for each other. Yeah. You know? Like all of that is said in this single line.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Straight from the tortured poets department. He stole department property. I think some things I never say, like who uses typewriters anyways?
This is so funny.
So real when you're like with somebody who is so focused on the aesthetic of something and you're just like, you know that like if you acknowledge it, you'll get the ick. And if you say something to them, they'll get mad about it because it's like, well, this is my art. Like I like writing on a typewriter because it helps me connect to my roots and unplug and blah, blah, blah. Like shut up.
Right.
Sit down. If you can't sit down at your laptop and write, just say you have writer's block. You don't have to say like, oh, I can only write on a typewriter because that's the only way I can write without distractions. It's like, well, then you don't like writing very much. If you can't sit in a distraction-filled environment and write at least every once in a while.
It is really
you don't like writing. You like the aesthetic of writing on a typewriter. Like, just say that.
She just kept it an inside thought. She was like, just like, no, but seriously, who does that?
Exactly. Because you're in self-sabotage mode, throwing spikes down on the road. Like, another thing about being a tortured poet is because it's an aesthetic, you have to like continuously recommit to it. Nobody's tortured all the time. If you are tortured and miserable all the time, it's because you are choosing to be tortured and miserable. He has to create his own problems because otherwise, like, he doesn't have any real problems, so he has to make things into issues because otherwise, without torture, he's just a poet and he's not particularly good at that.
It also makes me think of like, oh man, I just had a thought.
Oh,
okay.
Share it.
So he left his typewriter at her apartment and he's in self-sabotage mode. He left it there because he knows that without her, he's going to feel like he can't create anymore and be pulled back to her. So, same
You come
steps,
back to
different
what you
dances. That too. I don't know. It's just, that's how it feels to me.
But I've seen this episode and still love the show. Like, sometimes being around somebody who's so committed to that, it's kind of like, it's like a challenge of like, okay, well, I can cheer them up today. What can I do to cheer them up? And it's like, I still love the show, even though like, I know that this isn't like, also the idea of like episodes, like depressive episodes or something, like I've seen you at your worst and I still love you. So like, you don't have to hide or like leave your typewriter and go off to be dramatic. Like, I will come with you. I'll bring you the typewriter to you. Like, I won't let you hurt yourself. Like, I'll stop you before you hit the spikes in the road, you know?
It's also interesting how in an Exile, she says, I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the concept of a film, which is this long-standing single story and episodes of a TV show. So she can not like the episodes of a show, but watch them anyway, knowing that the plot could still change. They could still come back to each other. It could still end, wrap up nicely later.
Who else decodes you? Like, it's kind of fun to figure out somebody like this. And like, because they have such a like commitment to the bit, commitment to the aesthetic of being a tortured artist, that like figuring, like getting to know somebody who's like that and figuring out like what's real from that and what's not is kind of like a fun challenge, especially as a writer. Like, I love psychoanalyzing people. I usually just keep it on the inside, but like if I spend a lot of time with somebody, I'm going to start like not thinking about them as a character, but like understanding their motivations more because of like my background as a writer. Like, I just do that and it's sometimes annoying and I have to turn it off in my head, but like it's kind of fun. Like, who else decodes you? Who else is going to get close enough to you and know you for long enough and have the commitment to knowing you, because to be loved is to be known. Like, who else is going to really try to decode you like the way that she is trying to decode him?
Yeah. Or who else already knows because they have this bond. They've been through so much together already.
Who else can possibly replicate what we have?
Yeah.
And then into the chorus, and who's going to hold you like me? Do the girls back home touch you like I do? All the girls you loved before, like all these ideas of like, who's going to hold you the way that I do? Who's going to hold you with like the history and the knowledge and the knowing that I hold you with? Right.
And the fact that, he may have willingly left to search for, and you search in every model's bed for something greater. But it's like, but who's going to hold you like me?
Exactly. You always come back to what you need. It's like, yeah. And who's going to know you if not me? She's the only person who can get close enough to figure him out. And she wants someone to know and understand her. So she thinks that he must like understand how to know her because she understands how to know him. I laughed in your face and said, I love that this is like, she didn't say the typewriter thing, but she's like, you know what? I got to say something. You're being a pretentious douchebag. I got to bring it up. You're not Dylan Thomas. Dylan Thomas is a famous poet who is best known for his villanelle, Do Not Go Gently Into That Good Night. This is the most famous villanelle, which is a type of poem. And like, I know this because I was on Wikipedia looking up Dylan Thomas and then went to his poem because I was like, I've definitely read that when I was in college. And then I went to like villanelle because I knew that I studied them in college, and like his poem is on the page as an example of it. Basically what a villanelle is one of the most pretentious forms of a fucking poem, because what it is it's 4 to 6, I can't remember, like 3-line stanzas and then a final 4-line stanza. And like the first stanza, it's like, so it's the first line and the third line of that repeat throughout the poem. So, and then the second line, it's ABA is the rhyme structure, but the first verse is A and A. Then like, so the first line repeats at the end of the second stanza, and then the third line repeats at the end of the third stanza, and then the fourth and the fifth, and then the final stanza, it ends with those 2 lines. So it's really hard to write one that makes sense and works, because you basically have to write these lines that make sense in different contexts and like work in different ways. So it's really hard to do, and when it's done well, it's really effective. But there's a lot of terrible poems, and like it's same with like sonnet or like any other form of poetry that like if you get it right, it really works, and if you don't, it really doesn't, and you can tell that like it just doesn't work. It is kind of fun to try to do them though. So like if you're getting into poetry, totally would recommend like trying to figure out how to write that, because it's fun. As a tortured poet myself. So you're not Dylan Thomas. You're not this incredible like generation defining poet who has this incredible poem about, you know, like do not go gently into that good night is his most famous poem, which is about like basically not giving in to death and like not giving up on life. Rage against the dying of the light. So you're not Dylan Thomas. I'm not Patti Smith. Patti Smith is a famous singer-songwriter and also a poet. She's probably best known for her night Because the Night. She's best known probably for her song Because the Night, like because the night belongs to lovers. I think that's her. This baddie. Anyway, so that's Patti Smith. And I was reading her Wikipedia page, as you do, and in like 1977, I think, she fell off of a 15-foot stage by accident onto concrete, broke parts of her spine, and then used that time off. There was like a quote. She was like, "Oh, I use it to like re-energize and reset." And I was like, "Girl, what?" Insane.
Okay.
But also fell off the pedestal right down the rabbit hole.
Wow.
And that kind of idea of like, I mean, obviously this is the literal version of like, she actually danced off stage and like hurt herself, but obviously she recovered and used that to like recuperate her creativity, which like in a way, metaphorically, Taylor did after like the Kimye scandal and everything in 2016. So just an interesting parallel.
Well, she rises up from the dead. She does it all the time. Exactly.
This ain't the Chelsea Hotel. The Chelsea Hotel, which is actually called the Hotel Chelsea, and it's also known as just the Chelsea. It is a hotel at 222 West 23rd Street in the Chelsea neighborhood of Manhattan in New York City. And it has been known to be the home of numerous writers, musicians, artists, entertainers, some of whom lived into the 21st century. But like it was a big thing. Like Bob Dylan hung out there, Patti Smith, Dylan Thomas, all these different places, because it was built. It opened in 1884 and it's still up today. It's a famous like landmark. It's a historic landmark nowadays.
And her apartment is not the Chelsea Hotel.
Her apartment is not the Chelsea Hotel. It's like one of those things where artists would go there and stay there for like a couple of months. And it was like there's always a lot of artists around. So you'd go and connect with other artists and kind of like work together and inspire each other and talk about art and music and everything. But also, yeah, so Dylan Thomas and Patti Smith both stayed there during their careers, but they did not overlap because Patti Smith was like a child when Dylan Thomas died. Or she might not even have been born yet. I didn't write it down. So this ain't the Chelsea Hotel. We're modern idiots. And again, like the Chelsea Hotel was very popular in like the 20th century as a place for poets. Like nowadays, it's kind of known as a place that people used to go. I don't think artists really stay there anymore. I don't think it's a popular thing the way that it used to be. So it's like we're modern idiots. Like they were idiots in their own way. Tortured artists always are. But like we're modern idiots. Like it's ridiculous to have like a typewriter that you carry everywhere when you have a fucking phone in your pocket that can do so much more than a typewriter. Like get with the times. Think of a new way to be a tortured poet instead of mimicking other tortured poets to try to give the aesthetic of being, you know, tortured artists. Like, you're not actually a tortured artist if all you're doing is replicating what actual tortured artists did. Like they did those things because it was like actually for their art. You're just doing it for the aesthetic of their art.
It's also interesting that that's coming from Taylor, who often romanticizes and talks about art in the past, like previous eras of art.
But at the same time, she leans into like modern inventions and like modern things. Like there's kind of that weird line between like being inspired by the past and being like lost in it. And I think she's saying like, we can be inspired by Dylan Thomas and Patti Smith and like the idea of the Chelsea Hotel and these like literary salons that people used to hang out at and like write together. Like that's one thing, but like we're modern idiots. Like we have to come up with our own version of the Chelsea Hotel and our own versions. Like, if you want to be like Dylan Thomas, don't say you want to be like Dylan Thomas. Say you want to be like your name. Like, you want to be, if you're just trying to be somebody else, then you're not going to ever do anything new. Mm-hmm. And who's going to hold you like me? Back to the top of the chorus. Like, she's just trying to get this point across of like, who cares if we're not like these dead poets who never even met each other? Like, we're here now, we're modern idiots, and we are like our own people. Yeah. Like, we can have something and I can hold you like nobody else. Like, why are you not thinking about that? Why are you thinking about these past influences instead of like what we can do in the future?
I also just love the melody here. I think her voice sounds
spectacular. So good. In the post-chorus, so it's like, who's gonna hold you like me? Nobody. No fucking buddy. Like, a little fuck is a treat. I love that.
It's so casual.
She's like, who's going to hold you like me? Nobody. No fucking buddy.
And also, I think this is the first F word on the album, right?
I think so.
I don't think there's one in Fortnite.
I don't think so. Yeah, this is the first fuck.
And she's just like, seriously, who?
Who's going to hold you? Nobody. No fucking buddy. Verse 2, one of the controversial lines. You smoked then 8 7 bars of chocolate. Honestly, very real for that.
So real for that.
Like, you know, sometimes you do it.
I also saw this read once and I think it's really funny. And it goes into speculation and I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay.
Just for the sake that I think this is so funny. Someone was just like, you know, there's a song by the 1975 called Chocolate. Yeah. And if you talk about like a bar of a song, and then a bar of a song is like a measure of it. So it's like you smoked and then you really ate those 7 bars of chocolate. I think that's so funny. I don't think that's the correct interpretation, but I love it.
Never gonna get it. Never gonna eat it out. That's so funny.
He really thinks he ate too.
He ate. We declared Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist. Us last night when we had a couple of gin and lemonades and started talking about how everything exists on the High School Musical spectrum.
Yeah, we did say that.
So like here's what the thought process was. High School Musical 2 is obviously the best High School Musical movie. You can have other opinions, but you're wrong.
Objectively.
And so like different, like every song that we were talking about, we were like it either fits into like one of the 3. Right. So like High School Musical 2, what were we saying? Like, what is bet on it if not Cassandra?
Exactly.
You know?
Gotta Go My Own Way is So Long London.
So basically High School Musical 2 is the tortured poets of the High School Musical universe, which is why it's the best.
Exactly.
So that's what we talk about and we also paused the movie at one of the parts where Vanessa Hudgens' stunt double was jumping in the pool for her.
So clearly.
It's like a 3 to 4 second shot of her stunt double, and like it's so obviously not her. It's so funny. We posted on our story. Maybe I'll put it in a highlight so people can see it because it's just so funny.
We love Vanessa Budgets.
We love Vanessa because also I went to type Hudgens and then it auto corrected to Budgets and I was like, well, that's correct. Yeah, that's right.
Oh man,
she does not do her own stuff.
That was really fun. We also came up with an entire side plot in High School Musical.
Oh my God, yes.
Of what Chad and Ryan were doing.
Yes,
in their enemies to lovers.
We were writing out loud, so we were just brainstorming a enemies to lovers Ryan and Chad B plot, and I think we're gonna also do the same with Twilight. We haven't decided what characters we're gonna pick yet, but like it was really fun because every time they were like in a scene, we'd be like, and here's what happened before this scene, and here's what they're about to go do, and like they got interrupted here. Like it was so funny, and then we lost all of it to time, and that's kind of fun. It was very tortured poets of us.
It was great. Every time they were on screen together, I was like, look at them, they're in love.
At the beginning, Abby was just like, okay. And then by the end, she was like, they're standing next to each other.
It's like their pinkies are definitely touching right now. We love Chad and Ryan.
I scratch your head, you fall asleep like a tattooed golden retriever. Mood.
Song is so brutal.
It's so, but also like this idea of like the tattooed golden retriever of like everyone's like, oh my God, I have a golden retriever boyfriend is like the like silly, really nice boyfriend. But the thing about golden retrievers like is that as a dog breed, they are so fucking annoying if you don't train them. They will just destroy everything. Like that's what they're known for is like if you don't train a golden, they're really smart. So they will just get into stuff they're not supposed to get into. They'll chew through furniture, socks, shoes, whatever. Like that's what goldens do. So it's like he's a tattooed golden retriever. Is he well trained? I don't know.
Also, it's just a horrible image thinking about a dog with tattoos. Like, I'm so sorry. That's horrifying.
Yeah. But it's also like he's trying to like have this image of being like tattooed and like deep and dark and interesting. But like at heart, like, he's a fucking golden retriever. Like,
right.
Be for real. But you awaken with dread, pounding nails in your head. There's obvious, like, hangover implications of that, of, like, the night after you get, like, you know, really high and really drunk, and then you fall asleep, and when you wake up, like, you awaken, like, the anxiety. You awaken with dread, pounding nails in your head. Like, that's how people describe hangovers a lot of time, is like you have the headache that's just pounding at your temples. But at the same time, it's kind of like he awakens and, like, realizes that they had this really sweet moment where, like, he let his guard down and they were just being, like, silly and fun. And that's not very tortured poets of you. Like, if you have this silly, fun relationship like that, contradicts with the aesthetic that you want to have. But I've read this one where you come undone. Like, he's done this before. She knows him. She knows how to calm him down and, like, how to make him realize that, like, it's fine. It's okay that you, like, were silly and goofy. Like, I was also silly and goofy. You're still a tortured poet. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Because I chose this cyclone with you. I don't know why I said cyclone like that. But, you know, I did. She knows how he is. She knows that the cyclone of good and bad days, and, like, also that idea of a cyclone is, like, really random and unpredictable. You don't know where it's going to go. You don't know, like, how strong it's going to get. You don't know what it's going to pick up and what it's going to spit out.
Isn't a cyclone also what happens in The Wizard of Oz? I think
it's a tornado, but I don't know what the difference is between a cyclone and a tornado.
I think in the book it's called a cyclone.
That makes sense.
I don't know if that means anything, but that's what I'm thinking of right now.
I mean, the Karma music video does have Wizard of Oz references in it, so, like, she chose to get picked up and go to this new world with him.
Yeah, you showed me colors that I never saw with anyone else, because Wizard of Oz, when she goes to Oz, it's in color.
Yeah. And then it's the chorus again. It's the same chorus. There's just more backup vocals of, like, repeating the main lines for the who's going to hold you, who's going to know you. And then the chorus, the post-chorus is the same, but instead of nobody, no fucking buddy, nobody, it's no fucking buddy first. So the fucking got moved up a line. And then the backup vocals of the second nobody, it's who's going to hold you, going to love you, going to troll you. And I looked up multiple places, and it's troll. Like,
interesting.
Actually, like, I want to double check the actual lyric book really quick, because I looked at it on Genius and AZ Lyrics, both said troll, but I'm like, are you sure?
Who's gonna troll you? That would be a weird line.
The backup vocals are not in here, so, like,
well, it could also be control, which is also not great.
Yeah.
Like, as in to say that trolling someone and controlling someone is not good.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Just interesting that I've never noticed that before.
Yeah.
Now the bridge. Sometimes I wonder if you're going to screw this up with me, because she knows she's in it for the long, like, they've had this thing and they've known each other for so long. Now that they're finally dating, she's like, well, I'm in it. Like, if this gets screwed up, it's because you're going to screw this up. But you told Lucy that you'd kill yourself if I ever leave. Anyways.
Yeah, that's
allegedly that line is about Lucy Dacus.
Allegedly, yeah.
But yeah, just an interesting, weird fucking thing to say.
It's really blunt. I remember when I first heard that line just being like, yikes.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big deal. I mean, that's something that
but I also think that, like, he's not serious. Like, he's just saying that. And that's, like, a thing that, you know, I mean, like, people say, like, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself. Like, people say that as a joke. And, like, it's not a joke. Like, and I get the, like, joking about it to, like, make fun of your own trauma kind of a thing. But, like, in this case, she's kind of poking, because the whole song is so satirical.
Yeah.
And she's poking fun at how, like, he'll say that. But it's like, yeah, because that's what the tortured poet would say.
That's true. I think for me and my mental health counseling background, that line really sticks out as, like, a very manipulative, toxic thing to say about a partner.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess he's, in this case, not saying it to her, and they're saying it to their friends. So
but
maybe
also,
it's
like,
not.
how did she find that out? Like, was she there when he said it, or did he tell her later?
Yeah.
Because the next line then is like, and I had said that to Jack about you, so I felt seen.
Right. So it's like we feel this same toxic way about each other.
Like that whole, and it's like, what's the level of joking? What's the level of seriousness? Like, what, you don't know, because when you're, like, just committed to a bit like this, like the tortured poet aesthetic idea, like, how do you know what's real and what's just throwing spikes down on the road?
But in this, like, since both of them know that they both feel this way, it just feels impossible to get out of this situation.
Yeah.
because you do love the other person and there's so many weird feelings involved. And
yeah.
Yikes.
And everyone we know understands why it's meant to be. Something about this, like, vibe-wise, feels like it relates to Question. Like, you know, all your friends are making fun of you, but 20 seconds later they were clapping too.
Yeah, I think objectively this is wrong. You know, like, objectively not everyone sees why it's meant to be.
Yeah, it's like they understand why it's like kind of meant, like they can understand it, but they don't agree with it.
Yeah. Right. It's like, I understand why you guys get along and have this really strong bond. That doesn't mean it's the right bond.
It's also one of those things where, like, when you have a friend who's in a shitty relationship and you're like, I gotta support them through this. Like, I can't, like, you say something once and then if they, like, react negatively, you're like, okay, I gotta just, like, shut my mouth and deal with this because, like, this is not the hill that I'm gonna die on. Like, I'm not gonna end our friendship over this.
Right.
So, because we're crazy. I was crazy once. That's all I had.
That's all you need.
So tell me, who else is going to know me? The whole song she's been saying, like, who's going to know you like me? And now she's, like, flipping it around of, like, I know you so well, and I know you in a way that nobody else does. So therefore, like, you're the only person who can know me in the way that I know you, because there's so much history and so much backstory and so much, like, going on that you just know, like, no one's going to know you like me, and no one's going to know me like you.
I also feel like this is a very vulnerable turnaround from the first whole part of the song where she's basically just attacking him and calling him out on being pretentious. And now she's like, no, but, like, who's going to know me like you?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you're such an asshole and I love you. And, like, no one else gets me the way that you get me. But, like, here's me making fun of how much I get you. But, like, you get me. Like, you know that I'm just poking fun at you. Like, who's going to get you like me? Who's going to know you?
It's also giving Cardigan vibes with I Knew You.
Oh, yeah.
Dancing in Your Levi's.
At dinner, you take my ring off my middle finger and put it on the one people put wedding rings on. And that's the closest I've come to my heart exploding. War crime.
That just feels like it's taken out of her journal. She was just like, you know what? I'm just going to say my feelings.
Exactly. She's like, we went to dinner. Okay, so I actually had a kind of similar situation with this happen with this girl that, like, the first girl I ever dated. I was like a freshman in college, recently out of the closet. And I had, like, explained what the clatter ring was to her, and we were hanging out with some friends, like, pre-gaming to go to a party, and, like, she took my clatter ring off and turned it around, and then, like, 2 days later she ghosted me.
I had that happen too.
And, like, are you fucking kidding? Like, it's so brutal, because then you're just like, if you were thinking about ending things, like, why the fuck did you do that? And it's so, like, so maddening. And this idea of, like, in that moment you're like, oh my God, like, this is so, like, wow, this is exactly what I wanted. Like, I want, like, she wants, you know, talking rings and talking cradles.
Yeah.
And, like, your heart just feels like it's going to explode. Like, you feel like you're so overwhelmed with, like, happiness and emotion that you're just like, wow, like, this is incredible. And to them, it's just like a silly little flirting moment. But it's like, no, it means a lot more to me. But you think, because you think the other person knows you, so you think that they understand what it means to you, but they don't.
Yeah, it's like this little, like, he probably knows it's a romantic gesture, but maybe he's just putting it on her finger and she's saying, it's the one you put wedding rings on, but maybe he's not even thinking about it being a wedding.
Maybe he smoked and he's already ate 7 bars of chocolate.
And he's just like, yeah, we've been dating for however long, a couple months, and, like, this is just, it's kind of a cute thing that I'm doing right here. And she's just like, oh my God.
Oh my God, he's going to propose soon.
I mean, that's painful.
And then the chorus happens again, and it's who's going to hold you? Me. Who's going to know you? Me.
So sorry.
And then the post-chorus happens again, and that's pretty much the same. And then the outro is back to the beginning of the song of, like, you left your typewriter in my apartment, straight from the tortured poets department. And it just cuts the rest of the verse and skips straight to the last line of the first verse of, like, who else decodes you? And, like, it's really kind of iconic of her to write this album being like, you think you're an unknowable enigma, but actually I understand you perfectly, and you're actually a pretentious asshole who loves hurting the people that love you. And I decoded you. How long till someone else sees through your facade and actually loves you again?
Whoa. Okay.
T.
Snaps for cat.
And that is Tortured Poets Department.
Wow.
So my discussion question is, what's something that was really cringy that an ex did that you couldn't acknowledge was cringe until after the breakup, because you knew that if you said something, they'd get mad, and if you acknowledged it, you would get the ick? I had an ex that made me this scarf, and it was so fucking ugly. But it was a Christmas gift, so I was like, I gotta use this scarf. And then we broke up. I was like, thank fucking God I can get rid of this fucking scarf. But like at the time I would like wear it places and be like, my like so-and-so made this for me. And people were like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. I'll tell you my story off the air because you guys know that I'm pretty personal, but think about your idea.
Yeah. If you have one that you want to share, drop it in the comments of the episode. Our camera's dying, so we got to do our little wrap-up spiel.
Yeah, we don't have any hint songs this week because we're currently doing our poll for the end of the month to see what people want us to do.
It's
One is in the
Patreon.
lead right now.
Yeah, so on our Patreon, we started a thing where the last episode of every month, we're going to have the patrons vote on it, which is very fun and like kind of fun for us to show like things we're thinking about and then also get people's opinions on it. Yeah, so if you're interested in joining the Patreon, it'll be linked in the show notes and also on our Instagram at Swiftlore Pod.
And now,
I mean, if you're international, our TikTok will still be up. It's just we won't have access to it.
yeah, so enjoy our page, I guess.
That's also at Swiftlore Pod. I don't know if our scheduling software will let us keep scheduling.
Oh, interesting. I don't know.
I'm unsure, so we'll see. Maybe we'll keep posting on TikTok and we'll just have no way of
Responding
or
seeing
editing
what's
unless
going
we leave
on.
the country. Go on a little road trip to Canada.
Yeah, so thank you to our Swiftest tier patrons, Bethany, M, September, Liam, Ashley. We love you guys. And I love that like multiple people from the Patreon reached out to us and other people as well to be like, hey, the Lover vinyl is out again. Make sure Kat gets it this time because she's mentioned a couple times in the pod how much it hurt that she didn't get it the first time.
And it was great because I went to the Cayman Islands and I was like, got off the plane and Abby texted me and was like, you are the owner of a Lover Live from Paris vinyl. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, they restocked it and I got you one. Like, well, because I was on a plane. I didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't have any access to it.
Right. And I was just like, I swear if Kat touches down, calls the amateurs and cuts them from the team and realizes she missed out on this vinyl again.
I would have been so upset.
That would have been the end of it. So
So like, did my uncle die while I was on vacation? Yes. But at least I got the Lover Live from Paris vinyl, you know?
And Joe is releasing music on the 24th.
And Joe's releasing music. So, you know, it's really been a month of high and lows.
That is getting me through.
Yeah.
Joe releasing music is getting me through. Thank you, Joe Keery. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe Keery.
Because I need this.
This is like for real.
So anyway, I've used all my brain cells. My brain cells are gone. But I think we had some really good points and discussions today.
I think so.
I think we were relatively coherent.
Yeah. And again, we'll post the details of the fundraiser on our Instagram. We'll probably do an in-feed post and maybe like some stories. We'll have all the links of places that you can donate, all the information on there.
On our Instagram. Yes,
on our Instagram. And also like written out instructions on how to enter stuff. If like, I know sometimes I need to like look at a written list instead of just listening to it. So that'll also be probably in the show notes and then also on our Instagram. Yeah. So we're out here.
We certainly are. There's going to be a live stream at the end of the month of us watching Twilight, as we mentioned. If you're a Swifter tier patron, so that's $5 a month. So if you want to join, you can watch Twilight with us.
It'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
I have a DVD of it that'll be plugging into my laptop, so we'll like actually be able to watch it.
Yeah.
So I'll have to fight streaming services.
So it'll be good stuff. Thank you guys for being here. Hope you're doing well. Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Crispy high five?
Crispy high five. Oh, I'm so sorry. I chickened out. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.